Hello crochet friends, welcome to Crazy Cool Crochet. This is Sylvia, and in this project we're going to be working on what I'm calling the crochet two-tone long cardigan. This is a very lightweight long cardigan, and you can adjust the length longer or shorter. So using a lightweight yarn makes this so comfortable. So I happen to be using Yarn Bee Yarntopia. It's a number 2 yarn. Okay, so we will be using the crochet hook is an H as in happy, or a 5mm. So we'll also need some scissors, a measuring tape might come in handy, and the yarn needle. We're going to start working on the front panels, and we will need 2. Now, in order to make this more visible for you, because working white on white is not going to work. So just for the purpose of showing you how to work the stitch, I'm going to use the darker color first. So this will appear to be the darker color. However, when you're working the pattern, of course, use the white for the beginning portion. Okay, now we are going to work for a size small, a chain of 49. I'm just using a small swatch here. Now for additional sizes, make sure to go to my Etsy shop, which is crazycoolcrochet.us.etsy.com. And for some of the detail, you can go down below the video here on YouTube, open up the description box, and you will find information as to how much yarn was used and a link to the Etsy shop for the pattern. So we're just going to work a row of back loop only single crochet. Now I am using a smaller hook than what I called for. We're going to do back loop only for just this one row. It's easier to use a smaller hook. So just for this first row. So what you're going to do is flip the chain toward you. You'll see the back loops. I hope you can see that. They kind of pop out. If you can't get in that back loop for that first one, don't worry about it. That's okay. Single crochet. Okay, now it should be a little bit easier. So there's the chain looking at you the way it normally would. And now you flip it a little bit over and go into that back loop of the chain. And there's a very particular reason we want to do this for just this one row, just the first row. And that is so that we have a nice flat bottom. See if you can see that over here. Or a boxed off bottom, because we're not going to do any kind of a border on the bottom. So you want this to be like squared off a little bit. And that gives it a much nicer finish. Okay, so just keep going across the row. You'll have 48 single crochets when you're done. When you finish that first row of back loop only single crochets, switch back to the number 5 hook, do a chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to enter a single crochet into that very first space right next to that turning chain. Single crochet, chain 1. Skip the next space into the next one, single crochet again, chain 1, skip and enter a single crochet, chain 1, and continue that across the row. So you skip a space, work a regular single crochet, chain 1, and you are working under those 2 loops that form that little chain at the top. chain 1. And you will stop at the last 4 stitches. Very important. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So you did your last chain 1. That's also very important. Now you're going to just do regular single crochet across those last 4 spaces. Regular single crochet with no chains. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Go under those 2 strands, chain 1, and turn. Now again, 4 regular single crochets over those 4 single crochets that you just worked, starting in the first one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1, very important. Okay, now skip over that very first little space there and go over to the chain 1 space. Okay, so here you can see your single crochet. There's your chain 1 space. That's where you're going to work your first single crochet with the chain 1. Now skip over to the next chain 1 space. Again, single crochet, chain 1. Skip over to the next chain 1 space. Single crochet, chain 1, all the way to the end. Don't miss that very last one. You're going to work under the 2 strands again. Chain 1. Turn. Okay, now work that same pattern into the first chain 1 space, single crochet, chain 1, and then continue into the next chain 1 space, single crochet, chain 1, the next chain 1 space, and do this all the way until you get to those 4 regular single crochets at the end. One, 2, 3, 4. So you do need that last chain 1 space. Okay, you entered your single crochet, chain 1, and now do regular single crochet into each single crochet at the end of that row. 3 and 4. Chain 1, and turn. So as before, single crochet into the 4 single crochets. 3, 4, chain 1, and I will show you why that is so important in a minute. So skip over to that single crochet, to that chain 1 space, I should say. Skipping right over to here. Chain 1. Single crochet in the chain 1 space, chain 1, all the way to the end of the row. Okay, so it will be much easier for you to keep track by counting your single crochets. All right, so then you're going to turn, work your single crochets with the chain 1. When you get to the end, do your last chain 1 and then single crochet in the last 4. So let me show you what we're working toward. Okay, let's see if this is visible enough. So right here are those 4 single crochets. And what we're doing is creating a self border so that we don't have to go back afterwards and create a separate border. We're working the border as we go, and it's very, very subtle, and it's only about, I'd say, an inch wide because I do want that deliberately very subtle. But once you have this on, you can see right there, it's definitely visible. You can see the distinct difference between these stitches here, and this is a very definite border. Now can you see that where you created the space 1, or that chain 1? That creates a very obvious, I hope, anyway, not obvious, but it's definitely, what's the word I'm trying to use? Like it delineates, is that the word? I don't know. But you can see where it changes from the border to the main stitch. And look how drapey this is. Oh, this is so comfortable. Okay, so for the front panel, you're going to work the white for 23 rows. Right now I'm going to show you how we're going to change colors. And of course, remember, this is supposed to be white. I'm doing this backwards just so you can see it better. Okay, so when you do your last single crochet on row 23 for size small, additional sizes, grab the pattern from my Etsy shop. Okay, so let me show you. You're going to start that last single crochet for 2 loops on the hook. Now bring in the second color to finish that single crochet. Bring the yarn through and then do your chain 1 as you normally would, and that's it. Pull on the tails to tighten everything up. That's it. That's how easy it is. You just finish off that last single crochet with the new color, and then you turn and you continue. Continue the pattern. Okay, so you'll work your single crochet chain 1s and then your regular single crochets at the end, 4. You will work the brown or the tan color for 102 rows. Okay, so it's not 102 total, it's 102 of the second color, the darker color. You can adjust this for length however you want. On the body, the entire length of the front panels and of course the back will be 27 inches from shoulder to hem. Adjust that as needed, keeping in mind, once you put it on, it will stretch. It will give you another inch or 2, depending on the yarn that you're using. This yarn stretches quite a bit, so it will still be longer on the body. Now, one very important thing to keep in mind, when working the second panel, you're going to have to reverse these sides here. Okay, so if you do 2 panels exactly the same, then this is the right side facing you, this is the tail of the foundation row, so this is the right side. So if you make 2 identical, then the border is going to be over there rather than in the center. So for your second row, you ensure that you are reversing for the second front panel. And that will be the case only for the front panels. The back, the sleeves, we don't have to worry about any of that because this border is only on the front panels. Okay, for that second panel, I wanted to show you my actual second panel as I'm working it so that you can see what we're doing different. Okay, so for that first row of back loop only single crochets, you got that done. Now here's the second row. We started with the 4 regular single crochets in each stitch. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you did the chain 1. Okay, so now continue as normal. And now your count should match your first panel, your count of single crochets. Now for the back panel, we're going to work the same number of rows. So for the lighter color, you're going to work for 23 rows and then change to the darker color and then work for 102 rows, or however many rows you worked the front panels. The difference here, of course, we're going to need a longer foundation chain, so we're going to, for size small, start with a foundation chain of 100. Now the difference is we are not doing that border with the 4 single crochets. We're just working all the way across with the main stitch. Okay, so when you start your row, after you do your first row of the single crochets in the back loop only, you're going to start your first single crochet in the first space or the first stitch, chain 1, and then continue in the pattern so that you are doing the chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet all the way across on both sides. Okay, so you're just working even for the entire panel. For the sleeves, we follow the same pattern. The difference here, I used the smaller hook for the whole white section. The lighter section, I used the smaller hook. You don't have to do that. The only reason I did it is because I didn't want it to be too wide around the wrist, so I used the smaller hook. Now you're going to change colors on row 24, the same as the other panels. And for the sleeves, you're going to work for 64 of the dark rows, 64. Now to seam the shoulders, you put the back panel on the bottom, the front panels on top. You want wrong sides out. Okay, so the right sides are facing each other, and you're working on the wrong side. I use a whip stitch. Now make sure that you have a little bit of an opening here, a little bit of space between the 2 front panels for the back of the neck. If necessary, stretch the back one so that these have some separation, the front panels. Okay, it's okay to stretch the back if you're using nice stretchy yarn like I am. That works fine. Then, to seam the shoulders, I use a yarn needle, length of yarn. I tie it at the corner, attach the yarn, tie it at the corner. And then all you do is go around and around. Try to go under 2 stitches, 2 strands on each panel. Go back around the back to the front. And that's it. So just seam all the way to the end of that front panel. And then tie it off and go to the opposite side. After you seam the shoulders, then you will seam the sleeves to the body. And all you need to do is take the top of the sleeve, everything is wrong side up still, top of the sleeve, center it with the shoulder seam. And then use the same whip stitch, and of course on the other side. After the sleeve has been seamed to the body, then we will seam the edges and under the sleeve. And you can use the same whip stitch, and of course that has been folded over. And mine is not yet seamed. Thank you so much for watching. I encourage you to give me a little thumbs up down at the bottom. That helps my channel quite a bit. And if you would like to support my work so that I can continue bringing you these crochet tutorials, I would so much appreciate if you would go over to my Etsy shop and purchase a pattern. That would really be lovely, and I thank you so much and encourage you to come back for the next project.